there's an injustice, whether it's against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down. Don't sit down on them, because they need you.
Johnny Depp takes ex-wife Amber Heard to court for defamation. The following footage was in the courtroom a few days ago, with Amber's lawyer giving his opening arguments against Johnny Depp, as we see Johnny in the background with his two lawyers on either side.
Whether you look at him individually or in the context of the piece doesn't really matter, because the words are true. But context matters. But ultimately, what this case is about the First Amendment, about that December 18th, 2018 op-ed piece, and whether Ms. Heard's freedom of speech and the First Amendment give her the right to say the words that she said.
As I watched all of this guy's opening statements, he just appears more and more like a right-wing asshole. And now here he is talking about freedom. Freedom to smear someone and ruin their life. Now the right wing is doing that with the Disney company.
That right, that freedom of speech, is what Amber Heard is asking you to uphold and protect in this lawsuit. And that's a very simple question. The question you could decide this afternoon. Keep in mind what you just saw on the screen from Mr. Chu when he put up those words. Keep in mind what you didn't see. You didn't see the rest of the opinion piece. And we're going to look at those words in the context of what this piece was about. Because Mr. Depp's team wants to make you think that this opinion piece was designed to destroy Johnny Depp. That this was designed to maliciously talk about him and their life together. And it wasn't. Let's take a look at what the piece as a whole says. This is the piece that Amber wrote.
See, he's using the fact that the other lawyers only showed a little piece of this. He's using that to show the whole thing, to read all this for propaganda purposes, which is the exact reason Amber Heard wrote the opinion piece of shit.
I was exposed to abuse at a very young age.
Hearsay. Yeah, I could do this all day long.
I knew certain things early.
Like every sentence in here, I'll be able to debunk as BS.
I knew certain things early on without ever having to be told. I knew that men have the power.
See, one sentence, manipulation. Next sentence, bullshit. Lies. Women have the power. Women have always had the power. That's part of the trick that they continue to pull. They keep the power by having cucks like this guy believe they don't have the power.
Physically, socially, and financially.
No.
And that a lot of institutions support that arrangement.
No. No.
And I bet you learned it young too.
So she's saying she has victim personality on top of all her other psychotic conditions. No surprise.
Like many women, I had been harassed and sexually assaulted by the time I was of college age.
Many? I was sexually assaulted by many girls when I was in high school, junior high. And I made a video about that a couple months ago. And you're probably thinking, really? Well, I'm using the term lightly as women like Amber Heard use it. Do you know right now, government is trying to broaden the definition of sexual harassment to fit in a whole bunch of stuff that women would like to use in court and to just mess with men's lives, is what this case is about.
But I kept quiet. Then, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse.
Why was she doing this representing? It's just a coincidence, has nothing to do with her marriage, and the fact that back then she had accused Johnny Depp.
And I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out.
Speak out as in she accused Johnny Depp. She wasn't getting death threats because she was talking about women's rights, DV, and SA. This lawyer just debunked himself. It's clear by her words she was talking about her experience, alleged, with Johnny Depp. This is bullshit that makes me furious. And you can see Johnny Depp's body language here. It's the only time I've seen him in court here, moving back and forth in his chair. He's got some pent-up energy there, listening to this.
Friends and advisors told me I would never again work as an actress, that I would be blacklisted. A movie I was attached to recast my role.
She just got hired for another role weeks back.
I had just shot a 2-year campaign as the face of a global fashion brand, and the company dropped me.
Yeah, but mostly it's men who get dropped. And I defend those companies for doing it because that's just business. They have to be concerned about public image because they're businesses. It sucks, but it's called life. But when it happens to a woman, she goes and writes an article, and a lot of newspapers are happy to publish it because it creates this one-sided narrative.
I had the rare vantage point of seeing, in real time, how institutions protect men accused of abuse.
No. Here's something I just noticed. He said something about abuse, and then he looked over at Johnny and his team real quick and looked back.
Institutions protect men accused of abuse. Imagine a powerful man as a ship, like the Titanic. That ship is a huge enterprise. When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes, not because they believe in or even care about the ship, but because their own fates depend on the enterprise. In recent years, the Me Too movement has taught us about how power like this works, not just in Hollywood, but in all kinds of institutions, workplaces, places of worship.
And starting right here, I like Johnny Depp's female lawyer's body language. While talking about the Me Too movement, she starts looking directly at the jury.
In recent years, the Me Too movement has taught us about how power like this works, not just in Hollywood, but in all kinds of institutions, workplaces, places of worship, or simply in particular. The president of our country has been accused by more than a dozen women of sexual misconduct. Outrage over his statements and behavior has energized a female-led opposition. Me Too started a conversation about just how profoundly sexual violence affects women. And last month, more women were elected to Congress than ever in our history.
That's right. I pointed that out a few months back, and I was all for it. I made a video about that in 2016. But look at where we are today. One woman right now, today, you might have seen this, is in a hearing now to decide if she's going to be allowed to run again after the shit she's pulled. The lies, the lies, the lies. And now back to the lawyer.
Congress can reauthorize and strengthen the Violence Against Women Act, first passed in 1994.
See, more bullshit. See, why do we need a Violence Against Just Women Act when men make up about 70% of all the victims of violent crimes? Because society only cares about women. That's just too obvious these days.
It creates support systems for people who report abuse and provides funding for crisis centers, legal assistance programs, legal assistance.
And right now in the United States, there is zero funding for male victims.
It improves responses by law enforcement, and
Again, I ask you to think about, why did Amber write this article? She's not saying anything. This was just to cover up, Depp's lawyer right here. I think she mentioned a few minutes back. She wrote the article to cover up her embarrassment for being dumped by Johnny Depp and making it seem like it wasn't her fault, it was his fault. You know, he said, she said, that old story.
the new rules would require schools to investigate only the most extreme complaints.
No. Schools, colleges are not supposed to be doing investigations. The law is supposed to do that. So crazy, our society.
I write this as a woman who had to change my phone number weekly because I was getting death threats. I rarely left my apartment. And when I did, I was pursued by camera drones and photographers on foot.
She's a celebrity.
Tabloid outlets that posted pictures of me spun them in a negative light.
Really?
She talked about her negative personal experiences and her reactions and opinions.
Usually bras fit small-chested women like this.
Gapping.
See,
You guys.
this is what I was talking about. This. I get commercials for bras here. Regularly, YouTube is giving me ads for bras. They know I'm male.
Being someone in Hollywood, behind the fame, behind the money, behind the pirate costumes, you're going to see who that man really is. Amber is going to tell you about it. You're going to hear who he really is from other witnesses. And you're going to hear who he really is in his own words. In the vile, graphic, terrible messages that he wrote about Amber and ways he used to describe Amber. This case isn't about a day-to-day chronicle of their marriage. It's not about who is the better spouse. It's not about who you like more. It's not about which party can sling more mud. But
It seems like that when he's talking here, he's going to go try to make Johnny look bad when he already has said the case is not about that. This guy's so much BS.
You're going to hear a lot of that in this trial. You're going to hear that because that's what Mr. Depp wants to turn this case into. He wants to turn this case into a 6-week-long public spectacle of the most intimate aspects of their relationship and their marriage. And you know what? I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're going to have to do that. I'm sorry that you're going to have to listen to all of it. And I'm sorry that Amber's going to have to read.
This is so sick. This is just blatant manipulation. And I was defending this guy yesterday, saying lawyers should do all they can to defend their client, and that creates a fair trial. Both sides are equal. But this is just out of line manipulation. It's not necessary. It's just going overboard. Amber started this, and she continued to string this along for years now.
But that's the case that Johnny Depp chose to bring. And we're not going to stand idly by and let him sling mud at our client and make inflammatory and false statements like you just heard in opening. And whether Ms. Heard's freedom of speech and the First Amendment give her the right to say the words that she said.
Well, that shot right there of Heard is a good time to mention that I'm also working on a video about her body language, facial expressions, and a bunch of bad hair days. So stay tuned and subscribe, turn your notifications on, because all through this trial you're going to want to be monitoring my analysis of this trial. She shit on his bed, people. I just can't help but bring this up. That was my last video. You're going to want to check that out too. If you want the best laugh you'll get during this trial. There's a song. Someone did a song remix for that. And I incorporated that into my video about the poop gate.